Here we are, getting into some spooky NHL conversation. Because today, what I wanted to do was talk about some comments made by Frank Seravalli on the Flames Talk Show earlier last week. You see, today we are talking about Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid, and diving once more into the hypothetical future that could see McDavid elsewhere around the NHL. Take a look at this. Frank Seravalli on Flames Talk earlier last week said about Connor McDavid, the 2-year deal that he's got isn't really a 2-year deal. It's a 1-year deal. Then you reach the question of, are you extending? If the answer is, I don't know how they have any other choice but to try and trade him. Now, it's kind of interesting because this comment had a decent number of views, a decent number of likes, replies, and retweets and whatnot. One of these replies from Dunes says, LOL, the max contract is now $20 million. In another year, it'll be like 22. He's going to easily get $20 million for his next contract. And I think with the way the cap is continuously going up, there is a genuine idea that says that Connor McDavid could very well get the maximum amount of money that any guy can get. Kirill Kaprizov, move on over. Your $17 million a year looks like chump change when Connor McDavid gets his max offer. But with that said, we don't necessarily know if it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers that shell out that money to keep him around, if it's going to be some other team that just decides, hey, Connor McDavid's a free agent, or Connor McDavid is only going to get traded to a team that he wants to sign a max deal with. And furthermore, if he does take that money, what does that do to his winning aspirations? The cap is going up. So percentage of the cap, you talk about what was the $8.7 million Crosby deal decades ago to the Ovechkins in the 9 territory, and then McDavid at 12.5. That was the max for so long because the cap ended up sticking around in a pretty similar range for many years due to COVID. But shortly after the cap increased, we started seeing guys getting 13, 14, 17, and now it's increasing a lot more. Almost disproportionately comparative to the rate of everything else we have seen around the NHL. Now, you could say that the cap increasing is also a symptom of the modern day economics of the world as well. That, I think, is an underrated element that has influenced just a lot of money flow ideas over the past few years. But this ain't a politics channel. We're talking about hockey here. Connor McDavid could get $20, $21, $22 million, whatever have you, on his next deal, and whatever it is that he wants, somebody will pay it. We know this. The question is, though, does Edmonton do that? Leon Draisaitl is signed on for the long haul as well, but it's already been discussed by various NHL insiders and media that if Connor McDavid ends up leaving, Leon's got no reason to stay either. I mean, he's making a pretty reasonable $14 million a year right now, and I say reasonable because if you got wingers that are going out there making $11, $12 million a year, Leon at 14 is fine. If you have Kirill Kaprizov making 17 and Connor McDavid making 20, 21, 22, Leon at 14 is more than okay. His contract will age like fine wine, like the first contract that he was on did. Remember when Leon Draisaitl was making $8.5 million a year? Oh yeah, right. He was making that amount of money last year. It's been a crazy good time for Edmonton with Leon and McDavid under their salary cap picture, and they still haven't been able to put together a winning team. Their goaltending and their defense still sucks, and their forward core is the only redeeming quality, and guess what? They weren't able to get bailed out by that forward core in this first round against the Anaheim Ducks because Connor McDavid was hurt. So, there are a number of elements to this team that we have to be wary of heading into the next few months, and I guess you can say a lot of it will depend on how the Oilers start out their season in 26-27. If the Oilers continuously prove that they are one of the best teams in the Pacific, if not the best team in the Pacific, if they start out slow and they're in the bottom of the standings like they were seasons ago, then maybe it spells an early departure for what Connor McDavid's future looks like in the city of Edmonton. If December rolls around and the Oilers are bottom 10 in the NHL, they're not close in playoff reach and they would have to go well above 5 or even 5.400 to get into a playoff spot. If that's the case, then we could very well see McDavid trade talk pick up by the time January rolls around. Then, by the time the deadline comes, it's like, all right, well, where's he going to go? Because obviously he's going to try to maximize his winning potential in 2027, because if he gets traded from Edmonton, there's no way the Oilers are going to be good enough to contend, so why not retain 50% of his salary and then allow him to go somewhere with a $6-point-something million cap hit? Imagine Connor McDavid at $6 million a year for some team that can have him for the end of 27 and then for the 27-28 season. It might be the greatest rental opportunity of all time. And that's assuming that a team would hold on to him after 2027 if they acquire him at the trade deadline and they have future aspirations of going out there and winning another cup or contending again. If it's like Carolina or whatever, just imagining the scariest possible scenario, Carolina or Colorado, they could win back-to-back cups. They could make it work like that, and McDavid could all of a sudden be on the top of the mountain as a guy who was able to get everything that he needed to get done, with the exception of the OHL championship and the gold medal at the Olympics. There are a number of opportunities for McDavid to really just control his destiny since he's making so little compared to what he's actually worth. And whether or not the Edmonton Oilers would actually be a good enough team for him to allow to house him over the next calendar year and a bit. If the Oilers are okay this upcoming season, okay to good, but not like amazing, then I would say that the likelihood McDavid ends up deciding to stay up's a decent amount, you know. As long as there is hope that this team can get it done, I would assume that Connor McDavid wants to ride it out with the team, even if there is room for doubt. If the Oilers are absolute world beaters next season, by the time January rolls around they're first in the league by a long shot, then okay, there's no reason for Connor McDavid to leave. There would have to been some very good goaltending acquisitions if that were to be the case, though, so yeah, we'll see what Stan Bowman is able to pull out of his hat this time when it comes to the Oilers and their overall team construction. But with that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this Frank Seravalli update, speaking about the dangers of a Connor McDavid trade on Flames Talk? It's a 1-year deal, not a 2-year deal, it's a 1-year deal. By the time next summer rolls around, and you have the opportunity to extend McDavid, you should probably have your answer, right? Because if you don't, you could be setting yourselves up for some very difficult conversations shortly after. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this Connor McDavid trade update on behalf of Frank Seravalli? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.